Lesson 87. Youth and Maturity. His travel with his uncle Abu Talib to the Levant, Old Syria. When Abu Talib wanted to travel to Syria on business, the Prophet, peace be upon him, wanted to accompany him. Therefore, the uncle took Muhammad, peace be upon him, on that trip, and he was at the age of 12 then. When they reached Busra, the first Syrian city from the direction of the Arabian Peninsula, they met a Christian monk called Bahira, who had a hermitage there. He asked them about a prophet of the Arabs who was going to appear at that time. When he watched the young Muhammad, peace be upon him, carefully and talked to him, he knew that this boy was the prophet whom Musa, Moses, and Isa, Jesus, had told about. He told the uncle that this boy would be of great concern, and he advised him to take the young boy back and to beware lest the Jews might harm him. Accordingly, Abu Talib did not stay for long, and returned to Mecca as soon as he finished his business. Muhammad, peace be upon him, stayed in Mecca. He became an example of perfection, stayed away from the moral flaws of the Jahiliyyah, the pre-Islamic period, and was chivalrous and courageous. He witnessed with his uncles the war of Al-Fijr and Hilf al-Fudul, the alliance of the virtuous, at the age of 20. As to Al-Fijr war, it broke out between Kinana tribe in alliance with Quraysh and the Qais tribe. It started in the area between Mecca and At-Taif, and it reached the Kaaba. As a result, the sanctity of this house, which the Arab regarded as sacred, was violated. For this reason it was called the War of Al-Fijr, and in Arabic, immoral or unlawful, as it broke during the prohibited months, Al-Ashhur al-Hurum. As to Hilf al-Fudul, the alliance of the virtuous, it was in the wake of this war. It was a pledge held by the chieftains of Quraysh to restore rights to the wronged people in Mecca, whether natives or strangers. His second trip to Syria on a trade caravan for Khadija bint Khuwaylid, may Allah be pleased with her. For Quraysh, trade was the main means of livelihood. Khadija bint, daughter of Khuwaylid, the descendant of Asad, son of Abd al-Uzza, son of Qusay, was a wealthy lady who used to entrust men to trade on her behalf. When she heard about the Prophet's honesty and faithfulness, as he was well known as the trustworthy, she sent for him, offering to send him to Syria on trade with her money. She promised to give him more profit than anyone else. The Prophet, peace be upon him, then accepted her offer and travelled with her servant, Maysara. He traded and returned with enormous profits. On this trip, Maysara witnessed many of the Prophet's blessings and witnessed Allah's honourings to him. When the Prophet, peace be upon him, reached Syria, he stopped under the shade of a tree near a monk's hermitage. The monk told Maysara that nobody sat under this tree but prophets. Maysara used to witness the Prophet on his camel shaded from the hot sun, even though he had no umbrella. His marriage to Khadija bint Khuwaylid. Maysara, on returning, told the wise and resolute Khadija what he saw of the Prophet's blessings and Allah's honourings to him. She sent to the Prophet, peace be upon him, saying, "O cousin, I wish to marry you for kinship and for your truthfulness and honesty." She addressed him cousin, as it was the habit of Arabs in calling the relatives from the father's side, and they both descended from Qusay. Khadija mentioned what Maysara told her to her cousin, Waraqa ibn Nawfal, who was versed in the scriptures and stories. Waraqa said, "Muhammad is the prophet of this nation. I knew there was an expected prophet for this nation, and it is about time for him to appear." Khadija, may Allah be pleased with her, was sought after for her noble lineage as well as her high rank among her people. The Prophet, peace be upon him, consulted his uncles about the marriage, and they approved it. They headed to her with him and concluded the contract of marriage. Amr ibn Asad, Khadijah's uncle, was her representative in the contract, while the Prophet's uncle, Abu Talib, was his representative. Khadijah's dowry was 20 firstborn camels. Khadijah was 40, while the Prophet, peace be upon him, was 25 years old then. The Prophet, peace be upon him, did not marry any other woman before her death. Before him she was married to a man called Hind, and she had a son called Halla, who became the stepson of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. After his marriage to Khadijah, the Prophet, peace be upon him, kept working in trade and kept his devoutness to Allah, until Allah sent him as a messenger and a mercy for mankind. The Prophet witnesses the building of the Kaaba. The Kaaba is the first house to be appointed for worship on earth. It was built by Prophet Ibrahim and his son Ismail. It was built 3 times afterwards. It was built of stones and was just higher than a man's height. It is also said that the Kaaba was first built by Adam, the father of mankind. When Quraysh was going through the bases of the Kaaba, they reached the foundations laid by Prophet Ismail, where it was said that some papers were found which included aphorisms for people to come. Quraysh's nobles were very keen to put only pure money into the building of the Kaaba, so they excluded the dowry of prostitutes and usury. When they had shortage of pure money to complete the building on the foundations of Prophet Ibrahim, they excluded the Hijr and built a short wall over it to indicate that it belongs to the Kaaba. When Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, turned 35 years old, it is reported that a great flood hit Mecca. The thing that added to the weakness to the walls of the Kaaba, which were already weak after a fire. Therefore, tribes of Quraysh assembled and demolished the Kaaba in order to rebuild it higher than before. Their noblemen were competing to move the stones and to carry them on their own shoulders. The Prophet, peace be upon him, was one of those who carried the stones to the building location together with his uncle, Al-Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him. The Kaaba was built to the height of 18 cubits then, 9 cubits higher than its original size. The door was raised so it could not be reached except by using ladders. When the building was completed, the nobles of Quraysh disagreed on the person who would put the black stone in place, and they remained at odds for 4 days. Abu Umayyah al-Walid ibn al-Mughira, the oldest of Quraysh, suggested that they choose someone who they agree on as a judge. They agreed that the judge would be the first one to pass by As-Safa gate. that is from the direction where this gate was after building the Holy Mosque, not built by then. The first to come was the Prophet, peace be upon him. That was a relief for them, for they knew about his wisdom, honesty, and faithfulness to the truth. They said, "We accept the judgment of the trustworthy Muhammad." When he reached them and they told him about the matter, he spread his garment out on the floor, put the black stone on it, and said, "Let each tribe hold an edge of the garment, then lift it together to its prescribed place." Then the Prophet, peace be upon him, put it with his own hands. Thus the problem that might have led to war between them ended.